Sergei Rachmaninoff wrote 24 preludes in all the different keys, following the tradition of Bach and Chopin. In this video, we're going to take a close look at the prelude in G-sharp minor, which is from Opus 32, number 12 there. In general, there's two things about Rachmaninoff's piano music that really makes it stand out and shine. And the first is about harmony. He finds these amazing shifting harmonies, mostly on the surface level, with an increasing amount of chromaticism. And the second is about texture. As we will see in this prelude, it's just a lot of different textures, exciting ideas all the time. Maybe it's not so complicated and complex on a fundamental level, but on the surface it's super exciting. So this prelude is a short and concise, pretty good example of Rachmaninoff's piano music. The form is loose ABA form maybe. There's a theme in the beginning that returns in the end, after a kind of middle section that's a little bit developmental, but everything grows so seamlessly out of each other, so there's not much point in dividing it into clear sections. So let's get straight into the analysis. So we start with this amazing texture in the right hand. I think if someone told you to compose how it sounds when the sunlight hits the water surface and it's shimmering, this is like the closest you could do for piano. It's a little bit similar to Ravel's Ondine from Gaspard La Nuit. It starts like this. It's also about like a water spirit. So this is how I feel the water element, even though this is not about water in particular. It's just a kind of texture you get in Rachmaninoff. Now a melody in the tenor. So already lovely character here. This melody, it can easily get a little bit too static if you play on the D sharps, because they return on the beats. So the trick is to play on the other notes between the D sharps instead. Can form the melody nice. So lovely surface harmony suspension here. It's a kind of a Lydian feel when you have the sharp fourth, A major and D sharp augmented fourth. But back to G sharp minor. And here turning another surface harmony thing, turning the G sharp minor to E sharp major seventh. Just changing the function of the notes within the chord with a different bass note. And then final closing of the melody in the bass left hand. And it's like these two characters, and whenever the melody enters in the left hand, the tempo slows down. It's ritardando and meno mosso. And then when the left hand is done, the right hand picks up the tempo. So it's like the tenor needs a slower tempo for himself. Now it's the same melody again. Slightly augmented. And another typical Rachmaninoff thing, the same suspensions on the D sharp. The first time it's on the A major and it goes down, and the second time it's the same but different chord and it goes here instead. Lovely. This is E minor with a major seventh suspension, and then now we're modulating to B major which is a relative major of G sharp minor, so still close to home. And then the E minor is the subdominant minor in relation to B major. And here it's like we're searching for something with some great Rachmaninoff harmonies here. It's the tenor talking, so it's slow tempo. And we land on the D sharp major, which is the dominant of G sharp minor. And here starts kind of a development section, but it's very seamlessly going from this. So now we get a sequence with like a fanfare theme. And the mediant, this is the mediant that's always exciting and adventurous when you go from, in this case, D sharp major to B major. It's a third apart, kind of not within the D sharp scale, a mediant away. And also this fanfare rhythm, it's highlighting the rhythm that's already in the texture. Even from the beginning. But it's hidden, the rhythm in that texture, and here it's more emphasized. So these 4 times, it's the same top melody, but the harmony shifts all the 4 times, getting kind of more and more unsure and sadder in a way. The typical Rachmaninoff amazing harmonies on the surface. Now it's like a minor 6 chord, and this augmented 5 and to a minor, and just E major over D sharp, and back to D sharp major. Now we get the second sequence. So basically the development here is 3 passages of sequences after each other. So the first one is a fanfare, and now we get some scales in the melodic voices, and a descending scale in the top voice, and an ascending scale in the left hand. And they're intertwined in an uneven way. So it's a nice counterpoint actually. And also with ornaments in the right hand. And where did we get to? Not a big surprise really, it's back to D sharp major again. And here is the third sequence, and this is a sequence in 3 layers. So on the surface level we have just this movement. It's on every beat, it's repeated. This movement in the right hand, and a melody note and a chord note. And then on the second level it's a descending scale in the left hand of 4 notes. So always going to the 1. And this scale motive of 4 notes is repeated exactly the same 2 times. So that's the second level. And then the third level, this pair of scale going down is repeated 3 times. So we have now the second time it starts 1 note higher. And the third time 1 note higher again. So this is really showing the subtle intricacies of classical music. You can have a descending scale on one level and an ascending pattern on another level. It's a little bit like we can have that in life as well, because we're complex beings as humans, on one level we might want to do something, but on another level we don't want to do something. And this is not a paradox, they coexist because it's an emergent complexity that shows itself. Anyway, after the third time it's 1, 2, 3 takeoff, so Rachmaninoff just continues in the tangent direction. So it's broadening, the left hand continues down and the right hand goes up. So the third time here. Also on the final beat it increases the harmonic pulse of changing chords on each eighth notes. It's been a new chord on every beat of a quarter note before, but now it's and again D sharp major. And this is the climax. It's basically sirens blasting here. Final pickup on the left hand bass. And finally resolving to G sharp minor. And the reason why this has such a strong feeling of arrival when we get to this G sharp minor is because we've been on the D sharp major, that's a dominant of G sharp minor, for basically the whole development. So we call that a prolongation of the dominant. That's the fundamental function of the harmony. Then there's a lot of different shifting harmonies on the surface, as we see here all the time in Rachmaninoff. So the return of the theme is starts with this texture in the right hand. But now the melody in the left hand is not the tenor anymore, now it's a bass, so maybe even slower, and also with raw fifths and fourth. So nice to play. And now the answer to this phrase, the first time it's answered in the tenor, now it answers in the soprano. So Rachmaninoff is playing with the register here. And now, like, we're approaching the end, we're in G sharp minor. It's not much of a theme to be stated here, it's quite short. And now we get another sequence, typical Rachmaninoff stuff. It's an ascending pattern here. It's on scale notes, but also altering chromatically different harmonies on all the beats. And we don't really get anywhere, we get back to G sharp minor. So we try again. Now we get here. This is E minor. It's another special relationship of medians, minor to minor mediant. You get this like a suddenly solemn feeling. But then altering chromatically in the middle, turning it into a D sharp 7, the dominant, from E minor. So like it's just a intermediate chord going to the cadence. And final resolution to G sharp minor. So now this is like a short coda. It's only 3 things that's left to be said before we can wrap up this prelude. We have the texture in the right hand, and we have first the highlighting of the rhythm. And then increasing the shimmering to a trill. And then the final dissipation in the air with the scale up. Now I will play through the piece so we can have the music uninterrupted. But before that, a special shout out to my Patreon sponsors Scott Lamb and E. Silberace.